yeah, another yarn winding montage intro. You know the video is going to be good when it starts like that, right? Hello and welcome to the second installment of this 100 days to Halloween spindle spinning sock knitting challenge project. Boom. We have got our yarn all wet set, caked up and ready to knit, and we also have got our pattern. What we will be knitting today in this here video is a little Hocupocus socks, a pattern by This Handmade Life. It's a free pattern, I will link it down below if you fancy to knit yourself some Halloween socks as well. Although, they're not necessarily Halloween socks, but in this case they are Halloween socks. Yeah, you're following? Of course you're following. You're all smart people, you know what I mean, even though I'm rambling incoherently. Call me old-fashioned, but I do greatly prefer knitting socks on double-pointed needles than on circulars, or like those tiny circulars or anything else specifically designed to knit socks in the modern times. I think it has to do with the shorter, how do you say this? Like, there are 4 very short rows that you knit, and I get a dopamine rush every time I finish one of the needles. So that's 4 dopamine rushes per row. What about you? Tell me in the comments, what is your favorite way of knitting socks? It's that time of year where my videos will start to consist more and more of inside shots with bad lighting. I now did 4 repeats of the little cable, Celtic cable motif on this sock, and I think it is right now at the maximum length that my muscular calves can have it with only 64 stitches. So I guess I will have to start on the heel now. I kind of didn't expect the colors to go this slowly. I have a lot of this yarn. More than expected, clearly. Yeah, we'll see how they turn out. Maybe it's just one green sock. And we don't even have to get to the brown part. This was a skein where the gradient was not perfect, so there is a lot more flecking and speckling going on, but I really like it. I hope the other one will be as pretty as this. I am now knitting with the purple yarn, but the lighting in here is so bad that I almost can't even see the difference. Can you? It's only 2 rows, of course, not that much. It will be more clear when I get to the end of the heel, but well. A heel! A heel! And also a little bit more, but most importantly, a heel! Please keep your fingers away from the aubergine and water droplets emojis, but we have sock! Oh yeah! And it is entirely swamp colored. A bog sock, if you will. But this is like the color variation that is in there, which is clearly not the entire variation of the braid that I spun, which now brings me to the dilemma, the conundrum. Do I start with my second cake of yarn and have the same color progression as was my first plan and as I have detailed a couple of times in this and the previous video that I would do that, But now I'm wondering, what if I just continue from here on the other sock and then I have different socks? I kind of want to do that. That's like more whimsy. Are we all in agreement that we want more whimsy in these socks? There already is quite a bit of whimsy. Look at these cables. Absolutely stunning. I think I want to do that. Let's go for it. Let's no longer doubt ourselves and just go for it. Now, before my thoughts get entirely absorbed into the knitting of the second sock, let's do a little bit of a yarn evaluation, right? On this handspun, spindle spun sock yarn. I think it is due for one. Especially because yesterday I was wearing this hat, which is actually my first project made entirely out of spindle spun yarn, and I looked at it and thought, damn, I thought back then that this was pretty even, consistent yarn, but now I look on my socks and think, this could be a sock you get in a store? That's how consistent it looks to me. I mean, there is this line here, but that has more to do with me knitting with 4 double-pointed needles. It's also pretty consistent between the green, or well, swamp-colored yarn over here, and the purple. Like, I could trick people into believing this is store-bought sock yarn. I am convinced that I could. Or the other way around, no one will believe if I tell them that this is handspun. This, however, pretty believable that it is handspun. Progress, I like seeing it. Now let's continue with our bog witch socks. For that was mainly my reasoning in choosing to continue with the swamp color instead of going back to the bright green. It made me think, well, if I do this, then these are bog witch socks. And that tickled my brain. I thought it was funny, especially because the sock pattern is called a little bit of Hocupocus. So, a little bit of bog witch Hocupocus. Oh yeah, well spotted. I am already working with the purple yarn, so that means we're already at the heel of the second sock. The pace is steady and the progress is great. I kind of have to. I mean, not literally, but I feel the stress of the deadline. This is actually the first time that I'm working on a video, like within the week it has to be done. I don't know how other YouTubers do this with like working on their video for the next week. Normally I have a backlog of at least 3 weeks, but I've run through my backlog because of some projects taking longer than expected or some projects having to start over again. And now I'm working on a week-to-week basis and it is kind of stressing me out. Luckily it is a nice sock to work on, that really helps. I really do not know how other YouTubers do that. If you do have a YouTube channel and work in such a way, please tell me down below how.
I want to thank the NMBS, our national railway company, for not being able to run their trains in time. This made it much easier for me to get my socks done. Frankly, yeah, I mean, spending more time on a train than you have to equals more knitting time. So thank you, NMBS.
My friends, it is October 19th and I have finished the socks, which makes my 100 days project another 90 days project, but yeah, I am not mad about that. I'm also not mad about the decision to go bulk witch socks instead of just a nice perfect duplicate of this one. At least now I have one full variation of all the colors that are in the braid. Otherwise it would only have been this, and that's kinda sad, isn't it? Speaking of the yarn, I have the equivalent of another pair of socks still left over. I have not touched my second cake for either the green nor the purple. I feel like this is a recurring theme whenever I make socks, that I kind of overestimate how much yarn I need. I was told that 100 grams equals one pair of socks, and it seems that 50 grams equals one pair of socks. Who fooled me? Was it me? Probably. My apologies to anyone who is disappointed that I did not chain ply the rest of the green yarn or use them in my socks, but this is still my project and I am so happy with these socks. I will have to kind of look out to not wear them in abrasive situations. I have some handspun socks that I will wear for 18-kilometer hikes. These will not be such socks because I think the polwarth might be a little bit too delicate, too luxurious to withstand that kind of abrasion and use and wear, and especially the tear. I am also contemplating reinforcing the underside of the socks with the purple that I still have left over, because I don't know if I have said this in the previous video, but I have a feeling that there might be some synthetic fibers in here which will stand up to that abrasion and wear and tear a bit more than the polwarth and milk protein fiber. Right? Even though I am still convinced that you do not need synthetic fibers in your socks, because they didn't have synthetic fibers in their socks before 1850, but then they used probably a little bit more of a sturdy wool than polwarth. Speaking of the polwarth, I said last video that I kind of wanted something that was also closer to my face, and now that I have 50 grams of this polwarth left over, I can do that. I can look for like a tiny scarf or something, or a headband that will fit this, and I think I'm going to enjoy it a lot. We are done with the socks. We are done with this project. Are we done with Halloween? No, because Halloween is not in a week. So brace yourselves, for more Halloween content is coming. If you want to see that, make sure that you do not miss it. And if you like these kind of fiber shenanigans, and maybe you could like, comment or subscribe, but of course that is all up to you. And as for me, I will see you in a next video. But before we do that, maybe you are interested in some more knitting shenanigans right over here. Bye!